action selectors. Now, what are these action selectors? Basically, whenever we are submitting a HTTP request, along with every HTTP request, we are sending a request method. HTTP method we call it. The HTTP method can be get, put, post, delete, merge. So many are there. Of course, many are times, lot of these HTTP methods are disabled on server. And other than get and post, if you have to use any other HTTP method, you will have to make use of AJAX. That means programmatically you will have to submit the request to the server. You'll have to probably use jQuery, or you have APIs now available in Angular, React, using which also you can submit a request. Programmatically HTTP request can be sent. But if you look at plain HTML, using a tag, whenever we submit a request by clicking on a hyperlink, whenever we submit a request, remember the method used is get. But when we use a form tag and we submit a request, the method used can be either get or post. So I'll show you programming get or post, but before that, what is the major difference between get and post? How do you compare them and when to use which one? See, when you are submitting data in plain text format and you're not worried about the volume of data which you want to send, you are not sending limited but large volume of data, then you should use post. I would not say plain text because it can be in any format actually. In large volume, post. Small volume, get. Here actually any format of the data can be sent. Any format of data. Basically you can send images, you can send PDFs, you can send obviously text, you can send any kind of data. So in those kind of cases, use post. But here the data which is sent from browser to server is in the form of query string, and query string is string. The data should be in string format. That's what is major difference here. In get, whatever you are submitting is going to become visible in the location bar of browser. Whereas here it is only sent in the background. All the data is sent in background. So because it is sent in the background, it will not be visible anywhere on the screen. So basically this is high level difference between get and post. But something interesting which you should all know is, ideally speaking, use get. The request method must be get if the response of the request is always same. If the response of the request is always same, use the request method get. Of the request with same data is always same. But if the request is getting different response every time, then you should use post. Every time if you are getting different response, you should use post. For example, now when you do a Google search, let's say I take you to Google and here I search for something, let's say Deckensoft. Now I searched Deckensoft and I got the result. After some time, again if I search Deckensoft and I get the result, the result is same. If I search Deckensoft and I get the result, now and before, then the request method is get. Remember this. But if at all we take some kind of polling, some polling where you would say this is the best, or you provide some rating, and after the completion some average rating is displayed to you. Or you are probably submitting a HTML form, and based on that form you are going to get some response. So everybody is doing some kind of poll, and for the poll, if the response is different, if everybody is sending a request, and for the request if the response is different, then the request method used must be post. And that is the reason most of the time it gets generalized. If you have a HTML form, you use post, and if you have a HTML hyperlink, it automatically uses get only. We don't have choice of using post in hyperlink, though in form we have choice. In form sometimes we use get, we can use post, but in most of the circumstances, based on the submission, the data, the response would be different. Hence for form tag we use post. So these are all major important decision making factors based on which you should take get method or post method. So now when I go back to a project and some kind of application, how should I write this action method which is going to execute for get, or is it going to execute for post? I want to do something like that. So that is where, let's say we have got a person controller. I'll add a new controller, an empty controller. And every person has some name. I'm not going to models, and I'm not interested in writing classes. I'll keep it simple. Now, when somebody is trying to send an ID, that person should get the name of the person. So I'll put here integer ID. So what I'll do is here I'll use a dictionary. Dictionary where I have key as integer and value, let's say, is string. And persons. New dictionary. Rather, here itself we can do some kind of initialization. And I'll make this as static. Implies it is now going to be shared by all the users. So index method based on this ID should return the name of the person. That's the requirement. And that person name should be displayed in the corresponding view. So for this index, I add a view now. Right click, go to view. Not there. So right click, add a new view. Fresh view. Good. So now closing these forms. Now from controller, how can I get the name for a given ID and pass to the view? That is one question. There are many ways of doing it, and one of the ways of doing it is pass the data as a model object. But to keep it simple, as of now I'm using something called as view state. what happened? View back. Okay, view back dot. Now you see view back is of type dynamic. Now because view back is dynamic, we can put dot and give anything there. So let's say name is equal to, and based on that ID I want to get the name. I'm just creating a scenario. Persons is the dictionary and ID is the key. So what I put in view bag here, I should be able to get it in the index.html and displayed here. @viewback.name. Simple, that's it. A very simple example. So now I click on a hyperlink where maybe on the home page I'm going to have a corresponding view for the home. And here I would like to give a href is equal to /person. And now point is, if I am using a tag, how am I going to pass value to this ID? Yes, the best way to do that is using query string. Person1. So like this, I go for person2, person3, here ID2 and ID3. That's it. As of now, this looks complete. Let's see. Very simple example. I have 1, 2, 3. I click on person1. Hello person1. I click on person2. Hello person2. Basically, ID is being passed. And somebody is able to read this ID. That is the problem. It's in clear plain text format and human readable. Sometimes we don't want it to be readable. In those kind of cases, what shall we do? What is the alternative? Yeah, in those kind of cases, we go for a form. So maybe in this view only, here I'll take a HTML form and give action as /person, and I want to basically submit it to a person, and here I'll give input type is equal to text, and name of the field I'll give is ID. Along with that, I'll give submit button. So here I have some text. So I'm submitting the ID and we still get the same response. 1, I'm still getting person1. 2, and you notice here we still have /person (ID is equal to 2. So a simple understanding, very simple understanding. Whether we do it through hyperlink or we do it through form, even if it is form, the data is appended as query string only. Unless I write here method is equal to post. Now when I say method is equal to post, things get changed. Between hyperlink and form, things are different. Now I click here, I get the link. Now I submit same ID here and I don't see, but here it's working. I don't see (ID is equal to 1, but here it is working. So where is that ID submitted? Is it still submitted? Yes, it is indeed submitted even now. But it is now submitted in background. And that also, if you want to observe, you can use F12 debugging tools and observe everything over there. So I first clear everything. I go back and let me clear once again, and I submit one. See, the method is post, and in the body this is request, switch to response, switch to request body. In the request body we have id colon 1. So network, come to this, and request body, it's submitted. The value is submitted. Point is that. So this is how get and post are basically different. That's not the topic though. But yes, I want you to understand very clearly there is a small difference between get and post, and that has to be properly used. Right now I'm submitting from a index action method of home control. That means index view of home controller. Right click, go to view. From here I am submitting to a person controller. But many a times in real-time projects, when you are doing specifically in MVC, we are going to do a post back to the same action method. And right now you have noted this method is executing in the controller. This particular method is executing in either case, whether I post it or I use a request dot get method or post method. In either case, the same method is executing. But I can say action verb accept verbs and specifically say get here. That's it. So now you see what should happen. Again go back. Hyperlink will work. Hyperlink works. Go back. Submit, and it doesn't. It doesn't find 404 error actually. It's not able to do a post. 500 error. Because it could not do the mapping to this particular method. So when you do not give any action verbs, it qualifies for both get and post. But you give action verbs, it qualifies for only what is specified here. Yeah, you can give accept verbs and specify the list of methods, comma separated I believe. Alternatively, we rarely use this syntax actually. More simple syntax is direct, just say HTTP get. Just put an attribute HTTP get and it still means the same. So many times we would like to have a form generated through get method and submitted to post method, and all will belong to the same controller. Right now this is the example where I have jumped from one controller action method to another controller action method. But what if I want to generate everything from the same place? Yes, that also is fine. Like for example here I'll give nothing and I'll give nothing. So this is now going to generate a empty form to the user. So whatever form I had in this place, I'll as it is copy here. And this I'll put it down. So no more home controller into the scene now. So initially when I go to person controller, I'll directly go to person controller now. It's getting me empty form. And I'm going to put a value and submit. And when I submit, I want some method to execute. and that method same, but this will be post. But at the same time, what is important is the method data which is submitted, I want to capture here. So how to distinguish this method and this method? I cannot have two methods with same name and same parameters. Of course, names can be same, but the parameters must be different. So here we have a choice of writing form collection. I don't know if that is supported now. Yeah, just put a form collection, and from the form collection we can get the value. Viewback.id is equal to, what is the name of the key? In our case, the name of the key is the input element name, which is id. So whatever id we are getting from the form collection, we are putting it in the viewback, and back to the same view. The view here and the view here is now same, that is person view index.cshtml, and this time the name is going to be fetched from here. So this is only going to get me id. Based on this id, I want actually the name. So I will use here persons of integer because that's object. Let's write it separately. It's getting string values. So all sort of nuisance. That's why we don't use this technique. I'm just showing you that it's possible, but we never use this technique of programming. Perfect. So from the collection, which is a collection of key value pairs, based on the id we get the value, convert that to string, and once we convert to string, we are parsing it as integer, and based on that integer from this collection, I'm getting the name and displaying that name here. So name, not id. Fantastic. Now run this. Directly let's visit person now. Nothing. Give 1. Wow. It's change it to I form collection. Give 2. Give 3. All good. So this is working. So for HTTP GET method, this is executing. A plain form view is submitted, and in the form I have put method as post. So when I submit, it is executing this action method where I am getting I form collection. All the key value pairs we are getting here, and once we get all those key value pairs for the given key, we are getting the value in the form of string, and once we get it in the string, parsing it to appropriate type and using it here. That is why unnecessary parsing is happening here. To reduce all these efforts, we can directly put here itself integer id. In MVC, there is a built-in binder, modal binder we call it, default modal binder. We are going to learn about it later. The default modal binder automatically takes the data from the form submitted and gives it here so that we can directly use it. We don't have to write this complicate. Internally, this is done for us. And now also we still get the same result. So that is how get and post methods are different. And maybe we should actually program it more better we should check if there is an ID with this or not here in the dictionary. If persons dot contains key ID, then do this. Else return bad or not found. That's it. This is the perfect example. Now it completes everything. So a very small topic, very small topic actually, but I wanted you to have a clear understanding of how is get different from post, when to use get, when to use post, not only in submitting it back to the same form or same method in the same same controller, but also it can be submitted from one action method in a controller to another action method of a different controller. It's up to you. You have to frame this form appropriately, and of course when you do not write action, it's automatically going to take it as the current current action method. It will take it. So if I give you a person, it's going to automatically submit to person only now, not found. Actually that's not being captured. That status code we are not capturing. Otherwise we are supposed to capture that status code and provide the response. 404. That's all in this session. Thank you.